All right, all right. We are live, but we got to let it breathe just for a couple of moments while we bring the Facebook crew in on this, in on what's sure to be a great conversation. Really excited for Broncos country right now. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me on this victorious gut reaction episode, my partner in crime, your football priest, Zack Kelberman. All right, Zack, I'm going to tee it up. Broncos have now won 3 in a row. 2 of these victories over high quality AFC teams, one on the road, very hostile environment. Very few people saw it coming. Vegas is stunned. What's your gut reaction?
I'll give credit to you. First of all, Chad, you picked another Broncos upset, and you're 2 for 2 in the Broncos' last 2 games. But if you look closely, you can see the gray in my beard somewhat. That wasn't there, Chad, before this evening's game. My blood pressure cannot take any more of that. But the Broncos, they were my gut reaction, not to be a wet blanket, this was not like the Kansas City game in the fact that they didn't necessarily dominate Buffalo. Buffalo shot themselves in the foot over and over and over. They said, you take this game. And the Broncos said, no, you take it. And it was no, you take it. And it was like, we insist. But I will say, for as spotty as that offense looked, especially in the third quarter, they came to life in the fourth. And when they had to have a touchdown, Russell Wilson and the offense came through in the clutch. The flip to P. Ryan, finding Javonte for the touchdown pass. They had to have it. They got it done. They're 4-5 now. And now the question becomes, at what point do we start to talk about the Broncos as a potential playoff contender? It is not too soon, Chad, because they've pulled off 2 quality wins in a row. And dare I say, this franchise is learning how to win.
That's the thing, man. Something is different. And that's what, that's been my gut feeling picking the Chiefs, being there at the MHH meet and greet. All right, week 7, that Packers victory. There just something just felt different. Going into that Chiefs game again, just a positive kind of feel. And it was similar in this game, which is why I said, what the heck, I'm going to pick them. But something has changed. Mr. Roosh jumping in saying, I like to thank the 12 men who supported our cause tonight. Go Broncos. Woo, let's go. MHH for life. See, but that's the thing. When you're playing your heart out, when you're making plays when the chips are down, when you're overcoming obstacles, and you're playing a really physical, tough-nosed brand of football, and you're staying poised, things start bouncing your way. It's been so long since Broncos country can remember what it's like to have most of those situations bounce your way. But guys, if you think back to those great Peyton Manning teams, that 4 years, I mean, it wasn't blowouts every time. A lot of games came down to the wire. Broncos would find a way to come out on top, and in many cases, maybe more often than not, things bounce your way. So I don't look at it and go, oh, it should be a loss, 12 men on the field, they lucked out there. No, Buffalo screwed up, and Broncos capitalized on it with the game-winning field goal. Period, end of story. Buffalo's got caught slipping. Broncos made them pay. So you can go through this whole entire game, Zach, all the different swings and, Broncos kind of failing to capitalize on turnovers and different things. But overall, from a macro 10,000-foot view, meta style here, the Broncos overcame every obstacle and came out on top. Jason, thank you, buddy. He says, I want VJ fired. I wanted VJ fired. You wanted VJ fired. We all wanted VJ fired. I will gladly accept that I was wrong. The defense has been masterful the past few weeks. Exactly. You got to give a man his credit, Zach, when it's due.
It's funny that you mentioned the ball bouncing the Broncos' way, because on that long James Cook run in the fourth, the ball literally bounced back to him. And I thought for sure, I was convinced the Broncos were going to squander this game. But this was what's different. They would have lost if this was Nathaniel Hackett's Broncos. They would have lost this game if it was Vic Fangio's Broncos. They would have lost this game if it was VJ's Broncos, VJ as the head coach. But they're starting to learn how to win. And when you play good, mostly complimentary football, you get the breaks in your favor. And I want to give a shout out to VJ. The run defense still a little too leaky for my liking. They got bullied on that answer that Buffalo had in the second half, but they came with swagger, like we talked about in the Kansas City game. They came with fortitude. They came prepared. They were disciplined. Can't say the same about the offense with all those pre-snap penalties. You didn't have Kareem Jackson. You lost PJ Locke, and you still flustered Josh Allen into multiple turnovers. That was the very key to victory we talked about on last night's podcast, Chad. If you force Josh Allen and fluster him enough, he becomes bad Josh Allen, and you see why the Bills were never infallible. They were never unbeatable. It took a hard-nosed team that was willing to punch them in the nose like they've punched so many other teams in the nose. I'm talking about the Bills. That's what got it done tonight.
Troy, thank you, buddy. Appreciate the super. He says, hey, guys, insane. At some point, we cannot say good teams play bad against our defense, but that our defense is good. Nice job, BJ. Great job, BJ. Wow. Yeah, I just, the only thing is I had a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, Zach, when PJ Locke went out, because just nothing good happens when Dellerin Turner-Yell is on the field. And sure enough, even though it wasn't his fault, whatever it was, a couple plays later is that Kincaid touchdown. You're going, oh man, I remember these who's on first miscommunications that lead to big splash plays and scores. This feels hauntingly familiar, but they kind of coalesced, got things together. Let's catch up on a few supers, and then we got a quick matter of business. Guys, everybody's going off in the chat. I love it. The Lady D showing out in force, loving it. Thank you so much, Deanna. She says, super excited and happy. Go Broncos. The defense played awesome. Russ played very well. Offensive line played well. The missed field goals can't happen. We got lucky with the flag to win. Still love the win. Go Broncos. MHH for life. Yes, some things I want to riff on that subject. But look, people are complaining. And even I on Twitter, I was like, look, Russ, he just feels like he's just holding on to the ball too long still. He's a little reticent to trust his eyes or trust his receivers. That is still, if I'm picking nits, something I would love to see some improvement on. But you got to give the man his credit. This dude, when the chips were down, found ways to make the plays. And not just at the end of the game when the chips were down, but in the critical moments of this game. This dude only had 5 incompletions, 193 passing yards. That's not going to impress anybody in the box score, but 24 of 29, Zach, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 117.4, and some very timely scrambles, 9 of rushes for 30 yards.
I mean, yeah, you pay Russell Wilson $45 million per year to win football games. And it might not always be pretty, but I will take the ugliest victory over the prettiest loss any day. And in the end, for as poor as Russell Wilson played in the first 3 quarters, for as poor as I thought, Chad, the offensive play calling was, very conservative on Sean Payton's part. I understand wanting to establish the run, but it was way too east and west for me. I like north and south football, but they got it done in the end. And I'll say this once more. You saw it with the end of the half field goal attempt. The Broncos got all the players on the field, executed that. You saw they didn't crap their pants in the fourth quarter in this game. We talked about last night in years past, these situations, primetime games, hostile environments, quality opponents, the moment would be too big for them. They would start pressing and they would play down. They played up tonight. It wasn't too big for them. So I have 3 more words: coaching, coaching, coaching.
I want to see, I hated that last scoring drive of Buffalo in the clutch. It felt very much like first quarter of the season, Vance Joseph defense, but every other aspect of the game plan and execution tonight was excellent. You tip your cap to him. But that could have been a dagger, too much to overcome. Thankfully, Russ went down went out swinging and victoriously. Ethan, brother, from across the pond, throwing down from the tippity top rope. Thank you so much, big dog. Really, really can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Seriously. His message is learning. Broncos are learning how to win. Enjoy Broncos country. Yes. It's that same feeling when Sean Payton was asked going into the Chiefs game, hey, how important would a victory over the Chiefs be? The streak. Sean Payton wasn't really all that interested in the streak. He had nothing to do with the streak outside of the lost game in week 7 or 6, whatever it was. But what he said was, to paraphrase him, is, look, yeah, when you can beat a quality opponent like that, all of a sudden you can't help as a team, as individuals, but to start viewing yourself on that same level. And you don't know what the limits of that kind of belief and confidence really are. And you're seeing it come out in the wash in the form of this Broncos team just playing at a whole different level, Zach, and you got to love it.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I don't know what more I could say other than you have my sincere, and Chad's and Scott's and everyone else's sincere gratitude. But something that Deanna said kind of stuck with me. Not to take a shot at her, but she said the Broncos got lucky with that flag. I don't see it that way. You can only go against the the opponent that you're facing, and you can only deal with the circumstances that are in front of you. It'd be like saying if the Bills would have won, did they get lucky because the Broncos missed 2 extra points? It doesn't work that way necessarily. I don't want anyone from Deanna to Ethan to anyone in Broncos country to apologize for this win. The Broncos pulled it out in the end, and we've seen all too often the last 7-8 years them snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. For once on the biggest stage of the week with everyone watching, it was nice seeing the Broncos snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
Naj, brother, so stoked for you, man, because you, just like everybody in this room with us right now, have been long suffering. You've kept the faith, stayed energized and optimistic through it all. So very excited for you, my friend. He says, brothers, unbelievable. That game shaved a decade off my life, dude. I'll tell you what, and this is no lie, this is the first game where I was kind of feeling that surge of adrenaline, kind of just chilling right here, going, oh man, what's going to happen? That's the first time I really felt on the edge of my seat since probably the Manning days, because doing what we do for a living, it kind of beats that out of you. But it was back in style tonight. Big bad way. Russ delivered, says Naj, in the clutch. Super impressed with the coaching, and what a defensive performance. Thank you for giving us hope again. Amen to that, Naj. What do you say, Zach?
They have a lot of hope. Thank you so much, Naj, as always. I mean, again, your generosity is off the charts, and I feel that level of anxiety because my chest was getting tight too. My blood pressure, just at this stage of my life, Chad, cannot take any more Broncos football like that. But this is I think this is what Sean Payton's plan was and why he trusted the process, Chad, not firing VJ after week 3, keeping a status quo for the most part. He was confident that his team would get hot at the right time. You never want your team peaking in September, October. You want them getting hot when the weather turns cold, November, December, into January. And if it wasn't for the Vikings, who've won 5 straight, we can start to talk about the Broncos maybe as one of the hotter teams in all of football. And I'll tell you, if they beat Minnesota next week, Sunday Night Football, another primetime game, no one on the schedule is going to want to face Denver.
That is the absolute truth. Naj, really appreciate you, brother. Guys, real quick, we're going to get to some rapid fire super chats. We just got to remind you, all right, to make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, part of your game day. It's a big part of our game day here at Casa Jensen. Make it a part of yours. Order online during our Pizza pregame, 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day Sunday, and get ready for some football and fun. You choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, Zach, everybody wins.
So many toppings, so many different crusts. You can get a Hawaiian if you're into that. You can get traditional cheese. You can pick up some cheese sticks, some crazy bread. Everyone wins when you order with Little Caesars. And speaking of winning like the Broncos tonight, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game.
All right, let's do some rapid fire super chats. Copy that, Scott. Riptide, thank you. Got the he got his swag. Sent us a pic. Good to see. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, "Man, we did everything possible to lose and still won. Is this the turnaround? 8 years of pain could be the win this team needs to believe." I think the win they needed was that Kansas City win.
Yeah.
That was the turning point, in my opinion. We'll see how this season unfolds. But David, good to see you, big dog. Thank you, brother. We'll see how this thing unfolds. But I think the KC victory was the turning point. David's still holding to that 11-6, and it's still in the cards, Zach. It's still in the cards.
It is, and it's not going to be easy. The Broncos have a pretty daunting schedule. I talked about Minnesota. They have Houston with CJ Stroud. They have more divisional games coming up. It's not going to be easy to get there. But after beating Kansas City, like you talked about, Chad, and now tonight beating Buffalo, the Broncos in that locker room, after being left for absolute dead a month ago, now in this Jekyll and Hyde season, have to be asking themselves, who is going to beat us and who can't we beat? That is the beauty of winning and establishing a winning culture.
That's a good way of putting it. Left for dead. No doubt about that. Jess, appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, special teams, extra gassers at practice. Brad says, let's go. I called for VJ's head, and I also said we needed a full rebuild. I'm really glad I was wrong. MHH for life. Denver, baby. Amen to that. Larry, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much for the super chat. It means a lot to us, my friend. Chris with the super chat jumping in on a gut reaction. Love seeing this. Always a symbolic one on gut reactions. He says, "Wow, that was a wild ending. Broncos held on. Defense keeping them in it. Just wow." Exactly, dude. I mean, first of all, the Broncos go down. They get those points. You're like, all right, you can rest a little bit. Oh, and then they miss the extra point in the fourth quarter. You're like, foreboding. You don't survive two of those things in a single game this close, where the margin's that close, right? You're like, you just feel it. And sure enough, the Bills, man, they jump right on it. I mean, Cook just marching down the field, and you're going, oh man. But the offense did not wither, and the special teams, it would have been easy to go into a shell if you're Will Lutz after all of the calamity that had happened today, and especially missing that one that they got the 12 men on the field. But hey, he came through in the clutch. That is what counts. Check the standings.
I mean, Chris, I can feel the emotion in your comment, and it was surprising to see the defense turn that corner. We've been saying for the last week or so during the bye, especially, is the Broncos defense legitimate now? Did the light bulb go on? Did they turn a corner? And for the most part tonight, it looked like they did. Still a little bit to clean up. The run defense was very leaky. They were a little susceptible to the pass when Buffalo went up tempo. But I'll say this. I'll look at you if you're watching right now, VJ. I'm sorry.
Look at this. The Bills had 369 net yards. 192 of them came on the ground. So that's the one thing still. And again, they've got some talent when it comes to the ground game. So not only as an offense, but as you guys saw today, that's a stingy defense, man. Stingy defense used to playing in big situation football games. So tip your cap to Javonte, who ran hard, dude. 79 yards on the ground, 21 attempts, grounded it out, dude. I tip my cap to him. That man is a freaking warrior, Zach.
And what did we say yesterday, Chad? The Broncos can't put themselves in 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 6, and they have to put themselves in manageable down and distances on 2nd and 3rd. Javonte, if you watch each and every one run, he always fell forward. His yards after contact tonight was insane. And it's safe to say that the pre-injury Pookie has returned to Denver, which is a big boost for Sean Payton's offense.
Scott makes a point here in our private chat in the green room. He says the Broncos went light by design. 2 defensive tackles with Cooper and Browning on the edge. They even had Benito in the middle on at defensive tackle on pass plays and as a spy, basically. Stubborn Bills. Yes, indeed. All right, back into the chat, guys. Let's see what Alexander says. Will Lutz is not on my health insurance plan. Good gow. Mahomes doesn't have anything on the flip pass. Russ still owns it. I put still. Sorry. Russell Wilson owns it. Russ is our guy, period. Yeah, again, guys, he's executing the offense. I think he's going to continue to improve in some of these areas that are still kind of gnawing at us in terms of, hey, man, trust what you see, get rid of the ball. But if we don't have the pleasure or the benefit, I should say, Zach, of seeing the all 22 or the full length of the film. And a lot of those third down plays or long passing plays that they were hoping something would develop and he would hold on to it and either run or throw it away or dump it off, you would hear the booth tell you he had nowhere to go with the ball. So don't undersell the fact or underestimate how good of a quality defense that he was going against tonight. Rick, thank you, buddy. He says the team is coming together. Buckham, that's right. Buckham with a B, YouTube. Snarky user, so good to see you. Still don't know which team should have won. No, I think the Broncos should have won. They 4 takeaways to whatever it was, 1 for the Bills. Jumped out early, managed to lose the lead, and yet still found a way to hang in there at the very end and come out with the dub. And you know what? You're like, hey, 12 men on the field. They weren't anticipating the Broncos rushing out to kick that field goal at the end that he missed, the first one. And that's on them. They should have been ready. Coaches should have had them prepared. Instead, they got busted on a 12-man and ended up losing the game. Jonathan, brother, thank you, buddy. Says that's what a head coach knows how to do. That's what a head coach that knows how to build a team looks like. A little later in the season than we wanted. Penalties are still an issue. Let's ride. Yeah, the offensive line penalties have to get cleaned up. The one caveat here, Zach, is it was very loud, very hostile, East Coast, all that stuff. But it's still no excuse for what was it, 5 false starts penalties tonight? I mean, plus the holds and this and that. very, very giveth and taketh, the Broncos offensive line, because they blocked their freaking you-know-what's off until late. Those Bills sacks, Zach, weren't coming till the very end of the game. So another classic example of, though, you got to play a full 60 minutes.
It's kind of ironic, too, because when Sean Payton trashed Nathaniel Hackett, he talked about the Broncos' pre-snap penalties last year, and that's still an issue. I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't know if it's the offensive lineman, the holdovers from last year, but that cannot keep happening. But to the last comment, not on the screen anymore, but they were saying basically it's not ideal you're getting hot now. I disagree with that. I think it's ideal that you get hot now. We all would have liked to at least taken one from the Vegas or Washington game. Losing two really hurt the Broncos' playoff hopes. But again, you want your team peaking as the season goes on. You want your team getting better and finding their identity as the season goes on. A few weeks ago, before that Packers game, Chad, even going into that game, they had no identity. We don't know whether the Broncos were a passing team, a running team. They had no defense. Now they're a run first, hard-nosed, smash-mouth, ground and pound franchise that has taken down two of the NFL's superpowers in consecutive games.
Two of the darlings, baby. Two of the darlings in back-to-back weeks. Appreciate you, by the way, my friend, Miguel. Mike, jumping in, absolutely unbelievable. Great win. Let's go Broncos country. Great. Just great. Love all the MHH shows. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate you. Patriot Tex jumping in, an OG Super Chat superstar to say, tough game to watch, but I'll take the win. Special teams nearly and by rights should have cost us the game. Riley Dixon is a sorry punter and holder. We won, and now who knows where we go. MHH for life. That's right. As Zach said, you want to be heating up right now. This is when you want, as a team, to start really coalescing and all firing on all the cylinders, and the dopamine's firing, the synapses are firing. This is when you want it to happen. This is when seasons are won and lost, to be frank. So, but yeah, this Riley Dixon thing, you guys have heard us. I've lamented it many times on the show, how mid he has been this season. And then his lapses today is like, oh man, that's in tandem with how mid he's been. It's like, but they're going to have to just gut it out this season with Riley Dixon, but I don't expect them to keep him around beyond this year.
Wasn't it last night's show we broke down or was it Thursday show? The head-to-head, and we talked about Riley Dixon and how, underwhelming he's been. And I mentioned it's like right tackle for the Broncos. They've tried year after year replacing that, and they just can't seem to find their permanent guy. But, blemishes like that, punting or holding or missed extra points, they're a lot more palatable when you win the game in the end, aren't they, Chad?
Absolutely. Winning cures all, dude. That's the bottom line. George, thank you, buddy. What are your thoughts? He says on our record. Hard to say, man. This is a tough schedule that remains. We're just going to have to take it one game at a time. Howie, good to see you, bro. Throwing down. Really appreciate you. How about them Broncos? What a game. What record do you think we're going to have now? It's hard to say, dude. I'm not really prepared to go out on a limb. I mean, I could blow smoke up your skirt, Howie, and just make something up, but we're in a situation, I think, where all bets are off relative to which way this can go. But I am feeling like I'm no longer scared to say the P word, playoffs. I'm no longer scared. Am I predicting that's the outcome? I'm not. I'm telling you, though, that the Broncos have made themselves competitively relevant again. They're still one game away from 500, but don't sleep on them. David's still holding to 11-6. Colby's saying 8 wins. Do you have a specific number for people, Zach?
Going into the season, I was pretty confident in 11-6, just like our dear friend. But after the first 3 weeks and until that Packers game, I changed my prediction drastically. Right now, the way they're playing, I'm going to say 9-8 they're going to finish. And that doesn't seem impressive on the surface. It might not be a playoff result, but finishing 9-8 after starting 1-5, 1-4, whatever, 2 whatever. Starting off that poorly, that
1-4. No, 1-5. 1-5.
See, we don't even, it's been so long since the Broncos lost now, Chad. We can't even keep up with it anymore.
1-5, and then they've won 3 in a row. Now they're 4-5.
So to go from 1-5 to potentially 9-8, and to do so by taking down and snapping the streak against Kansas City, taking down Buffalo at Buffalo on Monday Night Football, 9-8. It's not the Pat Bowlen standard, but that would be a wild success in year one for Sean Payton.
No doubt about it. Sam, Bam, my brother, so good to see you tonight. Thank you for the generosity and support, helping us keep the lights on. He says, wow, just wow. What a game. Huge win. Wasn't pretty, but Russ made some clutch plays. We're going to make the playoffs. Let's ride. Go Broncos. This is one of the reasons why, guys, I'm feeling good. This isn't trying to, toot my own horn, but I never wavered. Zach didn't either from the in Sean we trust mantra. The Broncos' new owners, the Walton Penners, they went out and spent big in more ways than one to hire the closest thing to a sure thing that they could at head coach, and it's paying dividends. And you heard the broadcast guys talking about it tonight in the pre-production meetings they had with Sean Payton. It's like, whoa, he's walking in here with the swag that he had as the uber productive and winning head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Like, they were not necessarily, Zach, expecting him to come in there with the same old confidence and swagger that he just has, and yet he does, and then he delivers. So this is a guy that does deliver. You just got to ride it out, grind it out, stay the course, keep your patience, try to keep your blood pressure down, and trust.
You can definitely tell an adult is back in charge. And that basically is the bare bones expectation we both had on this podcast coming into the season. After the Nathaniel Hackett disaster, we wanted competency from the Broncos coaching staff, and you saw it in crunch time and both field goal situations at the end of the halves. The Broncos are now a well-coached team. And Sam, I'm not ready to use the P word definitively. I'm not ready to say they're going to make the playoffs, but the Broncos went from a team they had been thinking to themselves, we can't beat anyone, to thinking we can beat some teams, to now thinking we can beat anyone. That's a big, big turnaround in itself.
And it's a mindset they're going to have to continue to cultivate because the schedule does not get any easier. FA, brother, throwing down from the top rope. Thank you. He says, in the words of Coach Prime, do you believe now? We ain't coming. We are here. That's right. FA again. Thank you, bro. He says, I think people need to start respecting and stop saying this game is going to be hard for the Broncos, blah, blah. The narrative should be this game will be tough for the other team. We went into Buffalo and committed a heist. LOL. They did. They stole one. This was a 7.5 point road win. Like as far as the odds makers had Buffalo by 7.5. But the offense made their plays. That's a good defense, dude. Buffalo is a good defense. Hasn't been as good this season, Zach, as they have in recent years under Sean McDermott, but it is still a good defense that knows how to play high-intensity ball in critical situations, in games that matter. And the Broncos had to go up against that. They still found their ways to get their licks in. That play that Russ made, that touchdown to Cortland Sutton, I mean, vintage. That's a vintage Russ play. That's a vintage Sutton play, to be frank. Like, it's all coming back now. All these ghosts from Christmas past, and you got to be stoked about it.
I said on Twitter, you guys wanted prime Seattle Russ. On that play, you got prime Seattle Russ. A hell of an effort by the quarterback, and also for Cortland Sutton getting his toes down. That's his career high 7th touchdown of the season, by the way. I'm old enough to remember, Chad, when some Broncos fans were criticizing the team for not trading Cortland Sutton, but Sean Payton had a plan using him like Michael Thomas, and it's working wonders.
Mark says there was a streak-breaking Broncos and losses on Monday Night Football. Yeah. Broncos finally showing out with a victory on a national game is good as well. Ted, thank you, buddy. He says, I didn't think anything would overtake the Chiefs win for my favorite game this year, but here we are. What a gutsy performance, giving Buffalo a kick to the Lutz. I love that. You should write ad copy for Manscaped, Ted, and making up for the Washington and Vegas games. Yeah, dude, for sure. I still have a soft spot so far, for the Chiefs game because we were talking about staring down the barrel, pardon me, of 17 straight. But hey, I don't begrudge you for saying this is your game.
No, I mean, the situations were a little different. Obviously, the streak against Kansas City, divisional, hated rival, but this was a Monday Night Football game and pretty much the Broncos season on the line. On the road against a team, by the way, Chad, that rarely loses not only at home, but 2 games in a row. Say what you want about how the Bills play. They had to have this game tonight. They are spiraling, and they didn't just play lackadaisical. They played to win, and they didn't get it done. So I'm going to still say the Kansas City victory was a lot sweeter. The Broncos just dominated them from start to finish. They didn't necessarily dominate Buffalo tonight, but a win's a win's a win's a win.
Guys, so much more to get to. Many comments and supers stacked up. But real quick, with Thanksgiving coming down the pike, are you ready to spice things up for Turkey Day? As we dive headfirst into the mountains of mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce, we got to talk about the unsung hero of the holiday season, and that is the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. That's right. It's time to go cold turkey on your old razor and take care of your self, below the waist, so to speak. Visit manscaped.com and use code HUDDLE for 20% off and free shipping. Enjoy Thanksgiving in style with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Gobble, gobble, Zach.
As Marie says here so eloquently, don't shave points, shave your Lutz. That's a perfect segue to our Manscaped read tonight, Chad. And I can tell you, no BS, guys, sincerely, I used it a lot, both downstairs and upstairs. I'll spare you the details of the downstairs, but you can see the upstairs always looks good. And a lot of other products, Chad, always left bumps and nicks and not so great things on my body. This doesn't. I promise, if you're a guy looking for your grooming needs, Manscaped is the way to go.
It is all Manscaped products used very much in my house, not just by me, but I have 3 sons that have to shave, 21, 18, 15, almost 16. It gets a lot of usage, a lot of different products. So we love Manscaped here at Casa Jensen. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. It's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com when you use our code HUDDLE. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your turkey, what's the copy? Your turkey leg will thank you. There, I finally said it. Booyah. All right, let's go. Nick would have said it unflinchingly. Like, he just leans into the whole thing. I love it. I just, okay. All right. Family friendly show remains, though. We still keep it family friendly. FA, brother, again, says with good health, the Broncos can beat anyone on the schedule. They went into Buffalo and won. Buffalo does not lose at home, and we beat them. Broncos pretty much beat the Chiefs and Buffalo from beginning to end. That's great. That's true, man. In both games, Broncos jumped out and didn't let go. They did end up relinquishing the lead to the Bills, but it was oh so brief in the fourth quarter. I mean, it took the entire game for Buffalo to chip back in, and it took a very fortuitous bouncing of the ball, so to speak, with that Sutton fumble. FA 9 turnovers. That's right. 9 takeaways the past 2 games for the defense. Who are these imposters? I love it. More of it, please. Love this. Yeah. I mean, you got to tip your cap to them, because I love that the way you said it, Zach. After the first quarter of this season, I mean, after that Jets game, they were fully 100% stick a fork in them, done, and left for dead. But it's Revenant season. It's zombie apocalypse. Here come Vance Joseph and them Broncos.
And who would have thought that would be a scary notion for the rest of the NFL and not an excuse to laugh when VJ comes at you. But this is what we wanted from the Broncos defense. And this is what I talked about. I could speak for myself going into the year. I was never a fan of the VJ hire. And I, on a professional level, very much disliked him after that Miami game. But I said, if he can just get turnovers and get the ball back to the offense and just give the offense an advantage, you can have something here. My issue tonight, not to be a party pooper on a victory, my issue is not with the defense, except for the rushing defense, a little leaky. They played a hell of a game for 60 minutes. My issue is with the offense, Chad, and what they did with the ball, or the lack thereof, when the defense forced those turnovers. It worked tonight. The Broncos got fortunate, but you have to cash in when your defense does its part.
Broncos did a much better job of cashing in on turnovers and takeaways in that Chiefs win.
Yeah.
But there are more than one way. There is more than one way to skin a cat, and the Broncos proved that tonight. So win's a win. That's what I say. David, that was a great win, but we have to clean up the unforced errors. Yeah, for sure. For sure, dude. And that starts with the false starts, first and foremost. When your placeholder is given a perfect long snap on a field goal or an extra point, that's an unforced error. Very well said, and the Broncos got to clean it up.
Yeah, that's what I just talked about. I mean, all too often, Chad, they got the ball back and just went 3 and out, or punted, or went backward in some cases. And you're right, David, the unforced errors, the pre-snap penalties. But I'll say one more thing that I truly despise. Sean Payton's offense has been light years better. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt, and even the skeptics would have to admit that by now. One thing I still hate, one singular mistake, be it a sack, a penalty, anything that goes wrong goes backward. They can't overcome it. They have to learn that when you're backed up 5 yards, it's 1st and 15 and not 1st and 10. All you need is 5 additional yards. It doesn't mean you have to go into a shell. It doesn't mean you have to change your approach or your play calling. You have to learn to overcome. And that's still the area of the Broncos offense that reminds me of the 2016 through 2022 era.
Got to clean it up. Taylor, thank you, buddy. He says, great win. Won the turnover battle. Concerned, though, on special teams. You can't miss extra points, but hats off to Will Lutz. Need to stop the run game better. Go Denver Broncos. Yeah. You know, if we're doing a laundry list of our nitpicks, definitely the penalties, the kicking snafus, and the run defense. And then the last thing I'll say is for the Broncos offense is you just have to figure out how to. It's one thing, Zach, to be a run first team and prioritize that, but you just have to figure out how to get your passing program more in sync here. Tom, thank you, buddy. Haven't been this happy these last 2 games since the Manning years. When Wilson needs a tutty, he's a different player. Needs to be like that all the time. Yeah, and I think he's another one of those guys. I mean, it sounds crazy, Zach, considering how many big games he's been in, and he's literally been to the top of the NFL mountain. But he is one of those guys I think that's kind of had to his kind of needed to be coaxed back into being, relearning how to win and relearning belief. Because it's one thing to stand up at the podium and espouse platitudes and say things that make it sound like you've been here before and you know what's. But let's be honest, we could tell his confidence took a massive hit after everything that happened last year. And these 2 wins, man, this is how a guy like him, who does have a championship pedigree, gets it back. Steve, thank you, bud. Semper Fi says, once again, guys, right back at you, brother. Going to give VJ some more love, but did part of the special teams take the whole week off? And why is Mims being left out still? Yeah, I don't know on the Mims thing. They tried to kind of work him in with some gadgety stuff again.
Never works ever
today. It's just not working. You got to be a little bit more, I think, straightforward with him, and it'll pay dividends for you. But he still has been a huge stud for this team in the return game. Really helped. The Broncos didn't do a lot with the field position he kept providing him tonight, but tip your cap to him.
Yeah, I just wrote about him. I'm pretty sure it was today about the Broncos coaching staff wanting to get him more touches. And I just think every time you try to run the ball with him, bad things happen. Throw the ball to Marvin Mims, get the ball to him in space, and let his speed take over. He came into the game, Chad, leading the NFL in yards per punt return, and I'm pretty sure he'll remain on the top. The guy is just a dynamo and is going to be a very good receiver for years to come.
I still get a little bit nervous with his ball security. Like, that one, was it a fumble? Thankfully, no, he's down. And then that big hit he took from the long snapper after a nice return down the sideline.
Ridiculous. The guy flexing about that.
The way he was going down with the ball, like it would have been easy for that to get punched out. Like just little things like that, man. And that I think does explain in large part the coach's discomfort on this, utilizing him more. But they're going to keep going back to the well. They have to. He's such an impact guy. Howie, can we start calling him just Allen? Just saying. I hear you. Grover, wow. If the rest of the season goes this way, I'll need a defibrillator. The good Russ touchdown toss to Sutton, the bad, the run defense, and the ugly, the missed extra points. But a win is a win. Denver Broncos for life. That's right. Don't question the win. You can question it. Don't look that gift horse in the mouth, because right now the Bills would love to be the team saying, man, it was ugly, but we found a way. Okay, Nathan, so good to see you, brother. How are you? He says, I thought the universe was against us when Cook's fumble bounced back to him and DeMar Hamlin came in on defense. Let's go. I know that would have been the Cinderella ending tonight. But Russ and Sean Payton, they had different designs.
And the universe would have conspired. I'm fully convinced of that, Chad. If this was a different year, a different coaching staff, a different situation, the ball literally and figuratively in years past never bounced their way. The Cook thing was the epitome of that. And I thought to myself, oh, here we go again. I felt my heart dropping and the anxiety creep up, but it didn't work out that way. They got the ball back. They went down the field and they did what they had to do.
All right, we're going to rapid fire. Zeus, love you, big dog. The first face etched on the MHH Mount Rushmore says, Wow, what a game. Things are changing with the Broncos. Future looks brighter. Yes, it does, my friend. So great to see you. Thank you, buddy. The Ronk jumping in. Appreciate you, brother. Good evening. Right back at you. So happy you got this win tonight, Mike. Seriously, happy for you and everybody. The most optimistic diehards. I love it. KB, McMillian, and
Great
Moreau played well. Those
observation.
two guys, man, they're coming around. It's been really cool to see. It's been one of the factors that explains the defensive turnaround so far, I think, Zach. Sam Bam, again, thank you, bro. And credit to VJ and the O-line. Defense and offensive line looking much better. This team is only going to get better. Go Broncos. They just need a little health fortune, and they'll be, I think you're right on that. Mike, again, thank you, brother. Was not a perfect game, but that's what shows improvement that we could overcome. Exactly. I think the wind was a real factor as far as the kicking game went. Tons of improvements over last year. Not sure about 38. Thoughts? Go MHH. Zach, what is he talking about? The rookie McLaughlin? He just, against a big physical run defense like this that lays the wood and plays very disciplined gap fitting, he's just a guy that he's best when you got a little bit of space to wiggle and move around. You don't have that. This was the type of game, Zach, you needed a lunch pail gangster like Javonte Williams to wear him down and stand up in the face of it, because that was a defense that, they know how to play. They're physical, dude, and their linebackers swarm. Defensive line is legit, and so that's just not an ideal matchup for McLaughlin, although he has kind of been quiet the last few games.
You could say Javonte was the offensive MVP in this game, because if they don't have a running game, they don't come close to winning. I mean, the Broncos' game plan basically for the first 3 quarters was a run play or a running back dump off from Russell Wilson. So Javonte was paramount, just like he was against Kansas City. I want to take it back. Thank you, Mike. I want to take it back to the previous comment real quick about Moreau and Jaquan. It's funny that it took so long. If VJ would have made that change, starting McMillian over Bassey and Moreau over Mathis, you have to wonder, Chad, would the first 3 games have gone any different? It's been the catalyst for the Broncos defensive turnaround.
No doubt. And it's also important to remember, guys, that until the Broncos can start making opponents pay down the field with the play action, these stacked boxes are going to continue to be the order of the day for opposing defenses. And the last couple of games, I mean, maybe a little bit against the Chiefs, but in this one in particular, they could not capitalize on the play action, really. I mean, it took a really special, magical play in the red zone, that touchdown to Sutton, but still, let's go. We got a lot of people waiting. Demon Baby, so good to see you, buddy. He says, like I said last week, play like that, we can beat anyone. Exactly, dude. Broncos turning this thing around. Walk in your trap. Take over your trap. I like it, dude. That's probably a lyric somewhere. I don't know, but I love it. Gary, brother, stoked for you. He says, so much went wrong and we still won. That's a statement in itself. Go Broncos. Yes, it is. I love that mindset. Robert Otteson, kidding me? Thanks, Seattle, for Russ. Love from Nevada. Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you. Drew, good to see you. An OG superstar, big-time member of our community, saying this sure doesn't look like a team that gave up 70 points anymore. A win is a win, ugly as it was at times. Kind of reminds me of the Tebow era. Yeah, similar vibe in terms of the gritty, physical, ugly at times, but finding ways to overcome when the chips are down. Very similar threads in that respect, Zach.
And the Tebow era, 2011, how did that year turn out? I mean, they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. If the Broncos can accomplish that, not saying, I'm just saying, that would be quite the first year for Sean Payton. But you're right, Drew. I'm never apologizing for any victory. I don't care if it's 1 point or 70 points, like in the case of Miami in week 3. But we're going to take it at this stage, Chad.
Amen to that. Drew, so good to see you, big dog. Riptide again. Thank you, brother. He says, needed blood pressure medication. I was scared out of my mind. Went to the bedroom alone for the ending of that one. Now we got to beat a hot team in Minnesota. Let's get to 5-5. My son was saying they're going to win the whole time. That's cool, man. The boy believes. Yeah, dude, I'll tell you again, this is a game that had me a little bit more emotionally up, so to speak. I turned away like this. I'm watching this on my phone. I'm watching the game on my phone because I'm getting the stream set up, right? I'm giving a very quick play-by-play. Watching the game on my phone, stream, and I see him rush the kicking crew out there. I'm like, okay, all right. And on this is very rare for me, but I decide I'm not going to watch. And I hear the call, and he missed it. Oh, it's no good. Oh, but there's a flag. And I go, whoop. I look right back, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I just knew after that flag, you're not going to miss twice, especially when you move up 5 yards. So, hey, man, stoked they got the win. Stoked they got the win. It came through for everybody who has stayed engaged and continued to believe in Peyton and this team. BNS, good to see you, brother. Yeah, it has been a while. Pardon me. Says, I'm here for my communion. Great win. I say the ship is righted. Got to get rid of those penalties. Kumbaya. Hashtag all pro bowls, MHH for life. Yeah, he's bringing it back, Zach.
I was going to say, is this the same BNS that was Bowles' news service? Garrett Bowles, number one fan, probably his agent using a burner account. Now I'm just playing. Good to see you, BNS. And Garrett, he had a penalty or two, but for the most part, he played well. The Broncos O-line, especially in the running game, just played excellent tonight, Chad.
So good to see it down in Texas. Quote of the day, a.k.a. Mac Dog saying, let's go. The D is getting nasty.
Pause.
Yeah, it's getting dag nasty, can I say. Quote of the day, again, Mac Dog saying, change my name, but I can sleep good tonight. Amen to that, brother. We're all going to sleep well tonight, I think. And we're all going to start our week off with a little pep to our step, I think. Eclipse, Troy in the house, a bona fide OG in the city of brotherly love, representing the orange and blue, and a true OG. Says, happy Monday, Priest and Broncos fam. Glad I didn't hear Von Miller's name called not one time. He was an absolute non-factor. Peace and love from Philly. And, of course, bringing back the hashtag MHHUN. Yes, that's vintage right there, baby. Love it. Troy, so good to see you, buddy. Thank you for the super chat.
I don't want to gloat because I love the guy, Chad, but what we talk about with Von, what I was saying anyway, was that he might be washed. It might be the end of the line for Von Miller. He wasn't even starting tonight for Buffalo, Chad. He came in later in the first quarter. So I think the writing's on the wall for him. This was a revenge game. He was motivated to help the Bills get a much-needed victory, and he was a complete non-factor. So better them wasting their money on Von than the Broncos wasting their money.
Yeah, with his body of work and resume, Ronk, brother, going off. Thank you so much. I don't know what we'd do without you, big dog, on Facebook. You are a great ambassador, as my dad would say it. I used to bother me. No, ambassador. You know, I know. I just like to say ambassador. Okay, you're a great ambassador, Ronk. Thank you for MHH. Appreciate you. I lost my train of thought on what I was saying before, but we'll go back to the chat here. Because we do still have quite a few stacked up and we have to wind it down. Unfortunately, we got to get some articles published at milehighhuddle.com. Cameron, Ric Flair, woo! That was so awesome. So happy for this team. And Russ, I think we need to give Samaje Perine more touches. Dude's electric, so exciting. Yeah, it was interesting, Zach, to see that when they were going to run that kind of hurry up where the running back might be expected to do more with the ball out of the backfield as a receiver. He didn't go with McLaughlin. He went with, did Sean Payton, Samaje Perine.
But see, the thing is, Perine wasn't doing much before today's game, and everyone was saying, oh, well, you know, Jaleel should be the number two. Everyone was talking about when he played well, how good he was. So it's a matchup-based committee behind Javonte in the backfield, depending on the opponent, the down and distance, the situation, the game flow. It's just fortunate for Denver. They have three really solid running backs, all of which have different skill sets.
Yes, indeed. KB, again, thank you, brother. So good to see you. Sutton scores on an amazing toe drag, quietly scoring a lot of touchdowns this year. That he is, career high already. Justin, thank you, buddy. Anyone remember Tyson Fury, how they counted him out? Zach?
The boxer, fighter, UFC guy? I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he was, and he just won recently. I could be mistaken, though. Let us know, Justin.
I don't follow it. Sorry, Justin. D. Porter, appreciate you, bro. Very generous. Wow, what a win. This one's for Naj. Pat Boland. Yes, indeed. The shot of life, brother. That's Naj Al-Taf for you, let me tell you. You think it's a shot of life and energetic, just like coming through the internet when we've had him on as a guest. Yeah, take that to 11, like Spinal Tap, when you're with Naj in person. Trust. Flazify, bro, thank you. He says, do not say we got lucky. We earned this win and we'll celebrate and cherish it. Let's get back to 500. I agree. Dispense with that's a loser stuff. The Broncos found a way, made a way. They won. Naj again. Nice, D Porter. Yes, sir. Jaquan is the real deal. Sutton is a human highlight reel, and Russ made plays when it mattered. Incredible. Yes, it feels like all is right with the world right now, Zach.
Even if you come within like virtual contact of Naj, it feels like you drank like 10 Red Bulls consecutively. I mean, his energy and positivity is so infectious. And I'm so happy. You touched on this earlier, Chad. When the Broncos win, I'm not happy for myself, or Chad's not happy for himself necessarily, or Scott. We're happy for you guys because it's been such a hellacious 7 years. And for the Broncos to finally turn that corner and be a team that's worth respecting and that will garner respect, it's just makes my heart happy.
I once had a friend who went to an Anthony Robbins, a Tony Robbins motivational kind of seminar thing. And he came out of that just like high on life, ready to go conquer the world, right? And what he explained to me as far as the energy of that event and what Tony Robbins brought to the stage and the way he just that's when I met Naj for the first time in real life. I'm like, okay, now I know what my homie meant about the Tony Robbins juice. Naj really does have it. He's energetic, fun guy to be around. Okay, Scott. Yes, indeed. Let's do some catch up real quick because we got to get going. David, stars for the gutsy win. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate you, David. Another OG, been with us a long time.
Big stars.
Big boy stars. Thank you, brother. It all really adds up, especially after a 2-week kind of lull with the bye and everything. What a way, Zach, to kind of storm out of that thing.
I'm feeling great, cloud nine as a professional, someone who covers the team, Chad, but I'm with you as well. Your fan kind of comes out when you have these nail-biting circumstances, and so many times I saw the Broncos come out on the other end, and it was just so exhilarating to see the Broncos come out the right way.
Richard, good to see you. Thank you. Welcome. He says, great win, first-time chatter. Love the shows. A perfect way to end my birthday. Happy birthday to you. What a birthday present, dude. Seriously. What more could you ask for? Broncos for Life, MHH Buckham. Welcome. Thank you, big dog. Really appreciate you. Don't be a stranger. Keep it coming in all the future streams, my friend. Riptide again. Thank you, bro. He says Sutton's TD catch was a top 5 catch on the year. Yeah, and don't sleep on that throw either, dude. That was a badass throw. Howie, we need to clean up the penalties pre-snap. It's killing drives for sure. Yeah, especially against these opponents. And that's, maybe the Vikings aren't the Bills, but they have a lot of momentum right now. They're hot. But those are the type of things that will kill a team, even the one that's playing as inspired a football as the Broncos are right now. Josh in the house. Yes, indeed. Broncos finally learning to hoist the black flag so that they can indeed rise above. Henry Rollins approved. Oi, oi, indeed, my brother. Thank you. Drew Miners should be a first-team All-Pro. I wonder if Iowa's punter declares for the draft this year. Yeah, we shall see. Nick might have some scuttlebutt on that, but tip your cap to Miners, dude. He has been good. And if the Broncos maintain this momentum and they continue this down the stretch, you're going to see guys who in years past have maybe been deserving of accolades and whatnot. I'm not necessarily saying Miners was in the past, but guys like him, if the Broncos would have faded off into the sunset of this season the way they started it, he could have played at this exact same level, would have totally been passed over. No one would have thought twice about him. But when you start winning, it shines light on those individual guys that are carrying the water. And he's a guy to watch for end of season accolades. Phil, good evening, brother. So good to see you. I just got off my oxygen. Amen, dude. Trust. I feel you on that. I am not happy with the run defense. And why is it that Russ looks around and cannot find an open receiver? We've got areas to improve, but I am excited for the future. Go Broncos, MHH for life. Yeah, it was an imperfect win, but a win nonetheless, Zach, against a high-quality opponent.
And I want to talk about I don't think we gave enough flowers to Sutton and Russ for that touchdown. I saw something that the NFL tweeted. That 7-yard touchdown pass to Sutton had a completion probability of 3.2%. It was the most improbable completion of the next gen stats era. And that was vintage Russell Wilson making something happen when you thought there was nothing there, and an even better catch by Cortland Sutton. Initially called out of bounds, super close, got his toes down. That is the plays that you wanted to see from both of them. And when it actually materializes, Chad, in a big situation, it is beautiful.
Indeed. And thank you for sharing that. It was a quintessential case of making your own luck. All right. That's what the Broncos are doing. Boogmeister, good to see you, brother. Vaughn was the 12th man. Broncos for life. Was he really the 12th man? I don't know. Fox family breaks. Thank you. The team just looks different. They have more fight and heart. Love it. If Vance keeps the defense playing this way, do we keep him? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, Sean Payton wants to be right that he bet on the right horse. And so far, it's looking like he did, even though it was historically bad to start the season. Things have come together. They figured out the personnel. They got things communication-wise, is something Justin Simmons talked about this past week. Their communication is on point, and that has made a huge difference. You get Kareem Jackson back. I think it's going to help, especially, Zach, if PJ Locke ends up missing time. That's the one fly in this ointment that really does bother me is when Turner yells out there, man, I just cringe. I'm just waiting for the blown coverage. I'm waiting for the missed tackle. It's just, redemption awaits for everybody, but he's a guy where it's kind of been slow coming. Larry, Lucas Kroll should get more snaps. Yes. That one play where Russ missed him down the sideline. There was a penalty anyway, if memory serves, but that speed, I think it should have been a light bulb moment for the coaching staff. You might have to 86 somebody once you run out of his elevations and just sign him to the roster, because he does bring I didn't realize he was that fast, Zach. I did not realize he was that fast as a tight end.
Can we 86 Adam Troutman, who literally provides no value to
the starter, right. Adam Troutman.
Exactly. I would easily take that trade-off. And Kroll, I was doing some digging into him. You had the article, Chad, that the Broncos elevated him, but I remember when the Broncos picked him up after the preseason, put him on the practice squad, I noted on Twitter, Lucas Kroll led all NFL tight ends this preseason in receptions and receiving yards. He's a 2022 undrafted free agent, the ideal blend of size and speed. There's some there, and I want to see more of Lucas Kroll.
The doctor, Christopher L. Bush, jumping in. Good to see you, brother. The D has stopped two high-powered offensive teams that have been in the playoffs the past few years. That's right. Give them their props, man. Give them their props. I've been binge watching again Game of Thrones. Bend the knee, and give the man his props. Woofy, that one hit should have hit. That one hit should have been an ejection. If it was KJ, Kareem Jackson, it would have been for sure. Denver Broncos for life. Buckham, yeah. He's got a little bit of a reputation. I won't put him on the same level as Avontes Burfict, but he's definitely in the crosshairs of every officiating crew who knows he's going to step on the field. Eric, brother, appreciate you. He says, Priest, Broncos country, let's freaking go. Broncos have rediscovered how to scrap, fight, and win. MHH and Denver Broncos for life. Right back at you, brother. Thank you very much. Philip, good to see you. Welcome. Thank you for the super chat. Really, really appreciate you, my friend. We are about out of time, though, guys. We got a couple more supers, and then we got to dip on out of here this evening. John Presley, good to see you, buddy. Says, I want to build Goldberg. This,
I got this one.
You know this, right?
I got this one. He had the streak in WCW. They lined up, everyone against him, and he defeated everyone until Starrcade, when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall used I'm not going to get into that, but Goldberg was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and I would love for the Broncos to have that reputation. And that's what I was talking about, Chad. No one, especially if they beat the Vikings next Sunday night, no one is going to want to face this team come December and maybe even beyond.
Riptide, again, bro. Thank you. It says Broncos for life, live and die, orange and blue. And it sounds like, too, you're raising them right, my friend. So good to hear. And then we're closing it out with a very nice message from the man himself, the Ronk, keeping everybody excited, keeping the conversation going, letting everybody feel the love. Thank you, Mike. We're out of here, but we got a couple of messages before we dip, so don't leave quite yet.
That was one of the more pleasurable MHH podcasts in quite a while. If you're not doing so, please, as Scott pantomimes what pleasurable is, follow us at the MHH pod. You can follow us, also the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen. I'm at Kelberman NFL. Can't even pronounce my own Twitter name. And Scott's at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some MHH merch like the hats we're rocking, Bucka merch, anything, check it out. MHHmerch.com. Also, don't forget to drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. And make sure you're leaving your football priests a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, guys and gals, all in Broncos country, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you, baby.
Shout out to these great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, throwing down, starting with Facebook, David Wilder, Michael Ronquillo, Claude Riley, Phil McLaughlin, Eric Weber, Cameron Wadman, Howie Frickin' Day, Colby C. Collier, George Fox, Miguel Santisteban, and I think that's that on Facebook. On YouTube, the superstars showing out in force, Mr. Roosh, Jason, Troy, Riptide, David the Papa Bear, Lady D, Jess, Brad, Chris Hernandez, Larry, Alexander, Rick, Snarky User, Jonathan Fig, Mike Edel, Patriot Tech, Sam Bam, Mark Ward. Did I get Ted already? No, Ted, Tom, Ethan, aka DWI guys, Steve Hale, Naj, Grover, Nathan, KB, Demon Baby, Alo, Gary, the Swashbuckler, Robert, Drew, BNS and OG, Eclipse Stormborn and OG, Robert, Mac Dog, Justin, D Porter, Flazify, Richard Orndorff, Oi Boy Josh, the Chaos Meister, Drew, FA, Zeus McPeak, Fox Family, the Boogmeister, let's see, the Doc, Chris Bush, Wolfie Malott, Philip Plump, John Presley. Much love and respect, guys. Appreciate you so much. Broncos for breakfast on the bright. Megan Rourke jumping in. Hello, hey guys, first timer. You guys are legit. The way Sean Payton called the end of the game with the runoff running in, the kicking unit was genius. Won the game. Well said, Megan. And thank you. Appreciate you. Stick around. Connect with us on Twitter. Keep the conversation going. We hope to see you in the next stream. But don't forget Broncos for breakfast in the morning, followed by Building the Broncos tomorrow night. And Zach and I will be back Thursday.
Now, just imagine that was Nathaniel Hackett being in charge of the end of halves. They probably would have called a flea flicker or a tight end reverse or something. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Be sure to check us out Thursday night. We have BFB tomorrow morning. Have a great start to your week. Revel in this victory. Apologize to no one and continue to love and support your now 4-5 Denver Broncos. Have a great night. Until next time, take care. And as always, go Broncos.